Hello, buddy. Welcome back. I got my neighbor and my friend Mark here, and we met over a year ago, right?
It's been over a year, yeah.
'Cause you'd been, I think, I interviewed you once before, and I'll put a link to the first interview with him. It was, you only been there a few days when I interviewed you, and you were telling me about your horrific things you went through on the airlines and the travel and the Thai pass, the Philippine Health Pass, and all that bullshit. But
self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah, we're not going to go into that now. But you've been here for a year.
Yeah.
And so, how's it going for a year?
How's it going? It's been okay. It's been good. Some of it absolutely what I expected. Some of it not. You learn it as you go every day. I've had some real bumps in the road for a while, like health-wise and stuff. And other than that, though, I don't know what to say. I don't know.
So health-wise, are you talking about your leg or?
Health-wise, yeah, I got a leg infection, and it blew way up, and I mean, it could have turned really, really serious.
So you have sepsis, huh?
It turned, yeah, the infection got out of hand. I wasn't smart enough to go to a doctor. It just really got out of hand. So it took about 6 months for me to recover from that. You know, it took a good 6 months. Like my leg blew up pretty big, and it looked like I had a club foot, and it's now back to normal. Everything's fine now. You know, I've got a few scars from it, but who cares about that? You know, I don't care. But I had that, and then I had an injury that I was going down some stairs. So anybody watching this channel that doesn't know anything about Philippine stairs, they're not standard. In the United States, they're 7 inches. Here you can catch 6 inches, then 11, then 14, then 5, and you'll get vertigo going up and down the stairs. You know, it's a lot worse than what you would think, like to keep your balance on these things. Anyway, I slipped, fell down some stairs, broke some ribs, broke 3 ribs, had a nice bruise on my behind.
And this happened at a water park, right?
Happened at a water park.
Now, you'd think if this happened in America, you'd have a lawsuit, $2 million in your pocket, but here they probably just said, sorry, sir, you got to leave now, right?
Well, they'll point at the waiver over there like, hey, swim at your own risk and stuff like that. I mean, the funny part about
I wasn't swimming, I was on the stairs.
Yeah. And it was their fault too, because they didn't let me go down the slide. I went up. I was going down the giant slide, and the giant slide. This is made out of concrete.
Yeah, I've seen it.
So I'm not gonna break their slide.
Yeah.
And there's a weight limit of 150 pounds. Now I don't know of any.
That's like a big Filipino, I guess.
Yeah, that's a large Filipino. There is. I guarantee you, there are no foreigners here that meet the 150 pound weight limit. There's not, so that's like, hey, no foreigners allowed. The guy points at the sign, tells me I've got to walk back down the stairs. So that's what I did, and then I slept and fell, and because of the odd stairs and everything.
I had a fall too. My house, the steps that go down the ocean there.
Yeah.
They had the moss on there.
Oh.
And it was like low tide. I came down and just stepped on that lower step and hit the moss, and feet went out from under me and came down really hard. It just ended up being bruised, but.
Right.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you're older. And you fall, and I've fallen probably 4 times since I've been here, and everything goes in slow motion. Like, going down, you go, this is gonna fucking hurt. There's nothing you can do about it. And like when you're a kid, like a ninja, you hit the ground, bounce right back up, no problem. But when you're our age, you go down and you're going down, and it's gonna hurt.
I can tell you, my whole life flashed before my eyes when I slipped and I was going down. I was like, this could be it, because I thought. My head is going to crack on the back of these concrete steps, right on the edge of the step, and that would have been over, or would have been done. But it's funny, before I got here, when I was in the United States, I'm fairly energetic. I would run up and down the stairs all the time.
Yeah.
Because I know they're 7 inches. I know it's my muscle memory. And I'm running up and down the stairs. Here, I have aged 20 years easily. Because of the steps. I'm walking down the steps like, oh my God, it really, really.
And there's stores here too, like you cannot go up to the upper level. You have to take the stairs. There's no elevator. There's no escalator like at Lee Plaza and the new Unitop. It's like you park down in the parking lot
Right.
down below, and the only way to get up to the upper level is up the stairs.
Yeah. Well, that's when I find out how old I am. My knees say, "No, you're not 25 anymore, buddy." You know.
Not even 55 for me.
Well, not 55 for me either.
So I want to go back a second now. You're former military,
Yes.
and how long were you in for?
24 years.
That's a long time, and so thank you for your service, first of all. So 24 years in the Army,
In the Army, yes.
and when did you decide to go in? Like, what was your decision? Like, you came right out of high school, or did you have a reason for? What was your motivation?
You're really digging deep here, aren't you? Okay, so I grew up in a small town. Actually, it wasn't a town; it was a village. And there were in upstate New York. It's a little village called Phoenix, New York. No one's ever heard of it, but it's around Syracuse area. And so growing up there were no options. There were no options at all in that town of like advancing yourself, becoming anyone.
Yeah.
You know, and a person growing up there, the thought of college was just that was off the table. No one goes to college there.
Why, the cost or
forget it. I think it's like institutionalized in your brain. You know, like, no, this is who you are. This is what you're going to be. You know, you're going to be a blue collar worker. You're going to grow up. You're going to be a machinist, an auto mechanic, or whatever. You know,
Which
truck
is
driver,
fine,
things
but,
like.
yeah.
It's fine, sure, but I'm saying like you never even had the thought that you could go to college. Like, it's too expensive. You're not smart enough.
Guidance counselors didn't try and pump you up and give you some hope in doing something?
No.
What did your father do?
My father was a car salesman.
Okay.
But so anyway, to go back to that, like limited options there, and you know, like there were three things that you would wind up in my mind. What would wind up happening to me was I'm either going to be hooked on drugs, in jail, or dead. You know, I'm not making it to the age of 30, 35 or whatever because, you know,
like small town dream, like, you know, Mayberry RFD was nothing like that.
It's not like that, no. You know, if you drove through the town that I grew up in, white picket fences look beautiful and everything, but once you're really in there and know what's going on, you know, everything is dead end. There were a lot of drugs going through there and stuff like that, and like everybody, there's a lot of people doing that. Excuse me. And so, you know, I dropped out of school. Ninth grade was as far as I got.
Ninth grade,
yeah.
Wow.
I dropped out of school in ninth grade. Bounced around, did a few things, and realized I wasn't going anywhere. There were still the three options right there. It was going to be, hooked on drugs, in jail, or dead. Like,
did you do any drugs?
Oh, of course.
What were you doing?
Plenty. I can tell you the ones that I didn't do is about the better than, like I just never stuck a needle in me, but I've probably done everything else, like.
Now, they let you join the military, though, if you've used drugs? I thought they used to ask you that question, and that would,
They did. They asked me the question. The standards were different back then because, again, when I joined the military, I didn't have a high school diploma.
Yeah.
I didn't even have a high school diploma. And I put in my contract when I joined the military, it said experimental drug user. Because I wasn't going to lie. I was going to tell them I've used drugs, and the recruiter said experimental use only. Right. And I said, oh yeah, okay. So it was there in my contract. It was no secret. So then you join the military, you find out well, you can't do that anymore. They're going to catch you, and your life is going to be over.
Well, slightly different subject. Like, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but right now, since marijuana is more or less legal in a lot of places, I wonder if it's still something that can get you in trouble in the military. Like, if you're living if you say you're at the base in Nevada,
right,
where it's legal, and you get caught smoking pot, is it still against the law for a soldier?
100% off the table. You cannot. Okay, so not even just the military, because when I got out of the military, I was working as a government contractor also. So marijuana use can be perfectly legal in your state. They can even federally mandate it later and say it's legal or whatever. But your employer, they set the rules. It's a condition of employment. So if your employer says, I don't care what the state law is here, you are not allowed to use this drug, that drug, or whatever, and you just can't.
Right.
You can't. So military, they will never allow it. In my opinion. Any government workers, there's states where you've got government workers. It's a state where it's legal, but they're not allowed to use any sort of recreational drugs or anything.
I'm
like
68 years old, and my friends from high school, they were like a year or two older than me, that got drafted into Vietnam. I graduated high school in 74, and the war, I think, ended in like 75.
Yeah.
So I had a draft card, but didn't get drafted. But my friends that went over there that were, let's say, the seniors when I was like a junior or a freshman, they were telling me like when they were in Vietnam, everybody was doing drugs. It was the only way to deal with the horror that they were experiencing.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them came back, addicted, or their minds messed up and everything from, the drugs and all the stuff that they had to go through. So, and the thing is, if you had gotten caught back then, it's like like MASH.
Nah, they didn't care back then.
If you went in, like, say you're drafted, you say, "Oh, I smoke right."
Yeah.
They wouldn't say, "Okay, sorry, you're not getting drafted." Fuck that, you're still going to get drafted.
Right.
So
I think, well, back then they didn't have any real testing procedures and things like that.
Yeah.
So I came in right at the very beginning of that stuff. So when I joined, it was late '82, early '83. They were just starting the testing procedures, and it was not accurate at all. So when I came in, people were still using drugs. They were still doing, smoking a lot of weed in the barracks and things like that. Everybody was, and they said, okay, that's it. We're going to put an end to this. We're going to start testing people. We're going to give them random tests, or we'll do like 100% where the whole company's going to get tested. Well, they found out when they did that 50 to 75% of a company level, unit is going to come up hot. Well, you can't go and like take and find them all or
kick them out.
Kick them out. Do like all that stuff. So they had to back up and slowly phase it in. They slowly phased it in, and they started going through and reinforcing that, hey, if you get caught, this is what's going to happen to you. And like I could go run down the list of what'll happen, but basically, if you were caught using drugs, after that little grace period happened, your career was over. That was it. And if your military career is over, and if you get put out on an other than honorable discharge, your career outside of the military is, you're going to have a hard time.
It's like having DUI or something like that, yeah.
You'd have to actually hide the fact that you were in the military. Somebody's going to say, oh, you were in the military. And they might try and, figure out your background, like why you got out. And, maybe they can find out, maybe they can't. But if they find out you had an other than honorable discharge, no one wants to hire you if you have that.
Well, staying in over 20 years, you must have liked it.
I loved it.
You loved it.
I loved it.
What was your position? What was your job?
It was, it's hard to describe.
Just roughly.
Well, when I first came in, I was a mechanic. I was a mechanic. They sold me on that, and again, coming from a small town, I was like, "That's what I know. That's what I know."
Oh, you knew mechanics before you got in.
Yeah.
Some skills. You had some skills.
I had some skills already, and so I took the easy way out. I figured, okay, well, I'm just going to advance my skills and learn, to do bigger things and work
Sounds
on
like a smart move to me.
heavy equipment, things like that. Well, I thought so at the time. Then later on, I realized, I don't want to work on that kind of equipment because, it turns into working as a diesel mechanic, which is what I was. If you get out of the military, where are you going to go? You're going to work at a large garage or something like that, where you're working on these long haul trucks. This guy's coming in. It's February. He's coming in off the road. That thing's got to be fixed right now so they get back on the road. Crawling underneath there, you got mud and cold ice and sludge dripping in your face and all that. Or you're crawling around in the snow outside. Like, that's not for me.
I had a friend of mine. I was actually dating his sister, and he was like 23, 24 years old, and everybody else was either most of them were going. My friends were going to college. And he decided to go to diesel mechanic school. Like the, what do they call it, trade school or whatever.
Right.
And it was a 2-year program, I think.
Right.
So he goes, graduates, and comes out, gets a job right away. And this is in the 70s.
Sure.
And I remember like a year or two later, he's building a beautiful house. And it was a $70,000 house, which would probably be what, a $400,000 house today. Got married,
Yeah.
had a couple kids, but basically he had a wonderful life. You know, it's a hard job, but it was really good money, you know, back then. And right now, I mean, I would think if you're a diesel mechanic, you can get a job pretty much anywhere.
It's absolutely a good job, and you know, like I got a lot of respect for all the guys doing it. You know, it can be a difficult job, but it is a pretty good paying job, which is one of the reasons why, you know, like going in the military, I thought, well, I'm planning like for when I get out, you know, like I can use that skill and I have a pretty good living when I got out. You know, my big dream was I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna work at like a public school bus garage. And be their mechanic there or something like that. That was my big dream, you know. Like I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna make $36,000 a year, unheard of money at the time, you know.
Wow.
And you know, it didn't turn out that way, but you know. Well, to go back to your other question, what did I do in the military? In the military, if you spend a career, if you make it a career, I was enlisted. You start doing your job first.
Yeah.
You know, like I was a mechanic, I'm turning the wrenches. Then turns into you're the shop supervisor. You're turning the wrenches sometimes, you know, but you're directing the traffic and you're, you know, putting people to work. Then after that, you know, there's others leadership positions. You know, you become a platoon sergeant. So that's more of it's a leadership thing. You don't even think about, you're not a mechanic anymore. You're just, you know, taking care of your people, making sure they're trained and, you know, combat skills and all this other stuff, you know, and it goes up and up and up on different levels and stuff.
How often are you re-enlisting? Is it 4-year chunks or 6-year chunks or what?
It depends. You can, I don't know how it is at the moment, but you can do.
I mean, for you, what was it like? Like the first time you re-enlisted, when was that? How long have you been in?
You can do 4 years. I was 4 years. So you can do like 4 years, 6 years, 3 years, like. It depends on what's on the table.
They sit you down, try and talk you into staying in and saying, hey man, we really want to keep you, Mark, and can you know, get any bonuses or anything?
To a small extent. Some they're called a military occupational specialty, an MOS. So if there is a critical MOS, like there's a need, we don't have enough of these guys, and we've got too many of these guys. Well, if you're in the too many category, they're going to try and sell you on going over here. You know, like when I was in, it was 18 series special forces. Like, hey, join special forces, go over there, be a medic or whatever. We'll give you a nice hefty bonus and all this other stuff. And that's when they try and, you know, get you to move over, is when you re-enlist. You know, you can switch your
but you never did that? You always stayed where you were?
No, I just stayed where I was.
So, when did you finally get out? What year?
2006.
The 2006.
Yeah,
So,
shows my age, right?
yeah, so you get out, and did you have a plan what you're going to do, or?
No, I didn't. I was winging it at that time. I should have worked a little better on that, but I kind of had the confidence that I had enough experience. I was going to get out and do, you know.
Well, you have skills, like you're a mechanic. I mean, yeah.
That would have been the fallback, but what I wound up going into, so the one skill that everyone picks up in the military, everyone, if you're in there for a long period of time, is you become a trainer. The peacetime mission of the Army is, and any other branch, is training. You're training constantly. So you're always teaching people. So that's what I did. And I figured I'm going to get into some sort of training position. I don't know what I'm going to train, but, you know, we would constantly teach classes anywhere from like first aid to how to put in an engine in a tank and things like that. You know, you've got to learn it and then train other people on it. So I figured I'm going to get into that. And so, you know, the first thing I got, you know, I didn't have a plan, but I got out and my first job was full-time resume building and things like that, learning how to do that, applying for all different positions. And I finally got a job, short-term thing with the Maryland Board of Elections, and I was a technical trainer for them. And
Something totally different.
yeah, and that only lasted 6 months. And then after that, I fell into a job working with the IRS chief counsel as an IT trainer.
Wow.
And my boss, the woman that hired me, you know, I told her, I said, I don't know the first thing about training IT. I could show you how to turn on a computer, you know, and type a couple things. You know, I can't even type that fast. And she said that's okay. We can teach you how the IT portion of it. What is hard to teach is teaching someone how to train people. So we need a trainer first, and then a person with the knowledge second, because they tried it before. You know, someone with the knowledge that was an IT person, but they couldn't train people because those are typically your guys that want to be left alone. They're sitting in a small room.
That's a pretty sharp lady that saw your potential, and then she probably appreciated your honesty. Like a lot of people try and bullshit when they get a interview. And you say, "No, I can't do this." You know, well, we'll train you. That's great.
And the funny thing is, too, she hired me based on my voice, which I thought was really strange because, you know, like up where I grew up. My God. Anyway, a lot of people they speak kind of flat with very little accent, you know, so we're a little more easy to understand. And so she said, oh yeah, well, he's got the voice of a trainer. Okay, that's a little odd to hire me on that, but I'll take it.
People listening to you for like an hour or two, if you got a monotone or a boring voice, are going to fall asleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So a couple other questions, like totally off subject here. In your life, what's the most dangerous thing you've ever done? Dangerous.
Ooh, dangerous.
Yeah, dangerous.
Well, I was
not like riding a motorcycle in the Philippines, but
I mean, I was in Desert Storm, so that's kind of dangerous.
Let's talk about that.
There's not a lot to talk about with that. I mean, I wasn't infantry, so I wasn't in the front lines, but people were trying to throw Scud missiles at me every now and then. It's kind of dangerous. You know, never really. That's a good question. I never really thought.
So you weren't
about
like when you were a kid. You weren't a risk taker doing silly things like see these kids like climbing cliffs and taking selfies.
Oh, I absolutely was. You know, I mean, I've done rock climbing. You know, I've done free climbing.
Skydiving.
I haven't done that one yet. You know, that's something that you kind of want to do with your buddies or something like that, and I can never talk anybody into it. You know, like I've been scuba diving, but I don't consider that dangerous.
How about this? What's the worst thing that's ever happened to you? You look at your whole life and you say, that's one of the worst things that ever happened to me. I'm so glad I got through that. You think that was a turning point in my life that it could have gone really sideways?
Believe it or not, so like I don't get concerned or worried about a lot of things, and that's probably kept me alive for this long. And so I guess, believe it or not, just this last episode with my leg.
Yeah.
You know, like
a simple thing, it could have killed you.
Yeah, that simple thing, it really, really woke me up to the fact that, okay, you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. You can't go and just do the same things you used to do. You know, like a little scrape on my leg. Now I'm like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to that.
You get a staph infection, goes to your blood, you can die.
Yeah. And I ignored all that stuff before. I'd get cuts, bruises, scrapes. Never even put a Band-Aid on the stuff, you know.
The thing is to see a doctor in the Philippines costs you $10, you know. So it's.
But I mean, the typical things that would like really bother someone or worry someone, like I've been divorced a bunch of times. I've had an IRS bill for almost $11,000, which people would freak out. And I'm like, I guess I'll be paying that, you know. Like, it's life. It's just life, you know. I kind of take a lot of things that way. I don't worry about a lot, you know.
Well, you know, the military guys, like I've said it 1,000 times on my channel, people get tired of hearing it, but the former military guys that come here, even the guys that only did like, a few years, they all seem to like hit the ground running here. They just like, they figure things out quickly, they know where everything is, they make friends, they get in a relationship, they're not freaked out riding around here on a motorcycle or a scooter, and they're not upset about the culture here and the differences. They just kind of figure it all out and work it out, and they're happy. So you've been here for a whole year. Do you see yourself ever just leaving the Philippines, going back to America?
No, never.
Didn't take long to answer that question.
Well, I mean, I was like Cortez when he went to the New World. He burned the ships. That's what I did. I burned the ships. I gave away or sold every single thing that I had in the United States. And when I got here, all my possessions fit into 2 suitcases.
So you didn't want to do the ballot buying boxes or anything, ship anything over here?
I wasn't smart enough. I wish I would have, because I would have brought over all my tools and things like that.
I was just going to say that. I mean, as a mechanic, you must have had some really good tools.
I had some really good tools, and I gave them to a friend of mine. And I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars of tools, and I just gave them away. You know, I wouldn't live in the United States again. You know, like the idea was that I've traveled the world. I've been around. I've seen all of Europe, and what I really kind of wanted to do was come over here, use the Philippines as a home base, and then bounce around to the different countries around here in Southeast Asia, see different ones.
In Malaysia, Vietnam,
exactly,
Thailand,
all the ones in the area here, and then if I'm still alive and still healthy, years down the road, the next stop would be I'll go to South America and go there.
You mentioned before going to like Belize and places like that.
And Belize because they speak English.
Yeah.
And that would be a good place to just set up a home base again. I don't know if that'll happen or not. I mean, I'm accustomed to it here. It's funny. I've only been here a year. I feel like I've been here forever because like you learn very quickly here. You should. But you learn very quickly here how to do things, what to do, what not to do. I feel like I'm at home here. It's not bad.
You either fit in or you don't.
Yeah.
And like for me, it took a couple of weeks, but after a couple of weeks, I just felt like, okay, I made the right decision.
Yeah.
And things just kept getting better. And so last time I met you, you'd only been here a few days. You weren't in a relationship, so now you've got a girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And that makes things so much better, doesn't it? When you've got a relationship and it adds a whole nother dimension to your life.
Yeah, to me it slows me down and makes me stable and stuff. Like if you're a single guy here, this is like a kid in a candy store. You're gonna run around and do the single life. Like okay, which bar has a band tonight, and you're gonna go out there and then and be chasing the girls and stuff like that. And I did that when I was younger. I'm not doing that now.
Yeah.
So like it's just nice to have someone there, and plus, if I want to go to Sikior or visit another country or whatever, you don't want to do that alone. It's kind of boring.
It's nicer to travel with somebody else.
Yeah, you want to say like, hey, isn't that cool?
So you
Look at
guys
this.
living together?
Yes, we are.
Nice.
We are. It's pretty serious stuff. So,
you think you'll ever get married again?
Well, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that on the channel here.
Yeah, I get it. That's fine.
She's gonna watch this and go,
Well, when I came here, I had no intention of even dating. I was just trying to survive.
Right.
And here it is, almost 5 years later, and I'm happily married and got this whole special life, and it's just like keeps getting better.
It's funny. Like I know a lot of people. They come here and they'll come here and just enjoy themselves and play the field. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
There's not. Go date around until you find the right one. I happened to meet the right girl, the first one that I met,
Wow.
and that's it. I've only dated one person since I've been here. So
That's great.
Yeah, it's worked out pretty good for me.
I only dated a couple before I met my wife.
Yeah. I mean, I went on like a couple other dates, but they were not serious. Just like go to dinner and that's it.
Well, so you've been here for a year. Are you doing the military retirement visa? Or what are you going to do?
I haven't done it yet.
What's your plan?
Yeah, I want to do the SR.
Well, that's such a deal, though. You get a real cheap price on that, don't you, if you're military?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics on it yet, but I know that it is
$1,500 or something, like very affordable.
I guess for everybody else, in order to get that, you've got to deposit. I think it's $10,000 in the bank.
Yeah, well, it doesn't get any interest either.
Right, and I think that I don't have to as military.
No, you don't.
So I'm lucky in that regard. I need to do it just because I believe if I get that, then I don't have to pay state tax anymore because I'm still paying state tax.
Me too.
And I should have before that's a tip for anybody watching this. Change your residency before coming here. If you plan on living here, change your residency to a state that doesn't have state tax. Do that somehow if you can. You know, because you're going to be paying state tax.
Yeah, mine's Kentucky. I've been there 5 years, and I pay state tax every year. You know, so.
Yeah.
Speaking of taxes, how are you doing your taxes?
I need to do my taxes now. I know that I don't owe, so I'm not nervous about that. But before I came over here, I did my taxes, and I got it on TurboTax and all that other stuff. But now I haven't followed up on it. I'm like a year behind on it and stuff, so I need to file
One of my
again.
subscribers recommend Free Tax USA. Their website has the American flag on it because first I used it on the IRS's website, but now they've got this ID Me thing, and they would not accept all my stuff. I could not prove to them who I was. I've been using their website for years.
I'm going through the same exact thing right now. I just did that last week.
I gave up on that.
Yeah, I couldn't do the ID Me.
So then I did TurboTax, got it all done, but the only thing with TurboTax, there was no way for me to add my wife on there as a dependent because she doesn't have a social security number.
Wow,
that was
that's
impossible.
right.
And I couldn't use my YouTube channel as a business on there. Anyway, when it was finally finished after 2 or 3 hours of work, they said it was $800 to do my taxes. You know, the charge for doing it, not what I owed, what my fee to TurboTax was. And I said, I'll forget that. And so I tried this Free Tax USA. Same thing, took 2 hours, but I wasn't able to add Jen on as a dependent, but I was able to treat my YouTube channel as a business and deduct all these different things, which was really helped me out a lot. And I filed the whole thing for free and got it all done, and it was great. You know,
I'm gonna have
state taxes and everything.
I'm gonna check into that because I mean, yeah, that would be a really good option for me. It's like I said, the same thing. I can't do that ID Me thing. I just couldn't figure out how to do it.
Yeah, I tried. I couldn't. I mean, you're a guy that's an IT guy. Can't figure it out.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Gotta figure out, like, maybe, I don't know how people do that here that are married. Like, do you have to get your wife a social security number? Like,
yeah, I think you do. If you want to use her as a dependent, you don't have to, but if you want to.
But how do you do that?
I have no idea.
That's a good one.
I know my ex-wife was British, and she got a social security number while we were in America, and she had a green card.
Right. You have to be in America to get it, though, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Something to check out, I guess.
Yeah. So, you don't think you'll be planning any trips back to America anytime soon, or you think once a year you'll go there, or?
Probably once a year. We used to do a family reunion every year at the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
And now, not so much. We're going to other places and stuff, or the family's been going to other places while I've been here. I have no interest in going to the Outer Banks. Like, I live near a beach here. The whole, like 7,500 islands and things like that. I don't want to go back to the United States and go to the beach.
Right.
So we'll probably go and do something else, but not due for another family reunion until next summer. So I stuck around here this year because financially it was a little tougher this year. Yeah. I had just so many things that I had to buy, and everything to set myself up here, and I didn't have access yet to my IRAs and things like that. So I'm just living on my military retirement at the, right now, which is, I'm not complaining. It's good, but
you deserve it after 20-something years service,
Yeah, I mean,
will you get Social Security also?
I will.
Wow.
So,
are you going to do that at 62, or are you going to wait until you're 70? Or?
I might not be alive at 70. I'm going to get it at 62.
That's what I did too.
Yeah.
It's got money in the bank.
Well, I mean, if you're still working, then it's worth it to wait.
Yeah.
But I'm not working, so I'm going to collect it at 62.
Wow.
And then
you're going to be setting pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I can't complain now. I mean, I know a lot of people that live on a lot less than what I have and do very well for themselves. It's just that I have enough to where I can go, and like if I want to go and take a trip to Sikior or do this or that, I can afford it.
Well, as a guy who's been here for a whole year and successfully, everything's working out great for you. The guy's sitting back at home, and he said, "Well, I really want to come to the Philippines, but I don't know if I have enough money to live over there. My monthly income, like if I was to ask you, say, how much would you say the minimum monthly income would be if you're going to come over here and live, have a decent life, and what's the high and the low end there, would you say, is your advice?"
So every person is different. with their needs and their standards and their hobbies and habits too. So for me, I don't know. You can live on $1,000 a month. You could. It wouldn't be very comfortable. You're going to have a very small place. You're going to have to eat, a lot of the local food. You're not going to go out a lot and things like that. I think if you have, at a guess, I would say $1,500 to $1,700 a month is not bad. You can live fairly well. But if you add in, if you have some habits like a lot of us do, like if you like going out all the time, and you're going to run up a bar tab, that's going to cost you. If you're a smoker, if you don't want to cook at home and you're going to go out to dinner, that's one thing that a lot of people spend a lot of money on here, I think, because it's easy to eat out a lot here. Mm-hmm. It's very easy to go out to eat. Now it's cheap to eat out here, but I know people that eat out twice a day instead of eating at home.
I know people that eat out every meal.
Yeah,
every meal in there.
And it's very easy to get in that habit, because it's a social thing, and it gives you something to do. But you're going to spend a lot of money on that. But I think at a minimum, I don't know. Geez, I think
like 2,000 is perfect.
I think 2,000 is good. I probably spend around that or a little less, because I make a little more with my retirement, but I don't spend it all, and it's hard for me to gauge how much I really spend because I'm always buying stuff.
Yeah.
Always, like all the little things that, I got to buy a new TV. I had to buy a refrigerator. I had to buy a stove, a washing machine, all these things, and then I bought 4 different motorcycles and a van over time. Jeez. So it's hard to really put a number on, how much I'm spending in a month. A lot of it I would say, like if you're coming over here, try to have a good startup cash position. Come here with some cash.
You got to buy some transportation and things. Yeah. And I always go for a furnished apartment. I've never had to buy like refrigerators or stoves.
That's the start. That's the smart way to go.
I thought where you lived it was furnished.
It is and it isn't. Okay, it was going to be first, but here's what happened was I don't do this at home. It wasn't very smart. I paid in advance because I found a place that I thought that I really wanted, and it was being renovated at the time. So she needed money to get it renovated, basically, and I said, "Look, here's some money, just advance, rent money and stuff like that." So I gave it to her, and I told her she said that, "Oh yeah, I've got to put a TV in here and a refrigerator and this and that," and she basically showed me the refrigerator she was going to put in there, and I didn't like it. It was too small and it didn't have much of a freezer. And I said, I want a big one and blah blah blah. And she said, tell you what, you go buy it and buy the television and this and that, and I'll take it off the rents. Okay, fair deal. All right. So then fast forward till now, I don't want to stay there anymore. So I'm just taking this stuff with me. Instead of taking it off the rent, I'm leaving earlier, and I'm going to keep the refrigerator for myself. I'm going to keep the stove. I'm going to keep, the television and all that. So I bought good stuff. Yeah. I bought the things that I wanted. I'm like, all right, I'll just take it with me.
That sounds fair. It's like, she's not getting taken advantage of. You're not getting taken advantage of. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
She would have supplied the stuff, but it wouldn't have been to the standard that I wanted. Right, so,
smart move. But Mark, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It's so nice that everything's working out great for you, and
it's working out pretty good.
Keep getting better and better.
Yeah, it gets better every day.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. We'll see you next time. Bye.